right, 6 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Maggie Hadleigh is on the phone. Maggie Hadleigh West, I'm sorry. She is an award-winning filmmaker, and wait till you hear what she has made a film about. It's about thyroid disease. She had undergone some thyroid disease procedures. I hope I'm saying that right. The film is called Sick to Death, seeking to understand and change corrupt medical practices around thyroid disease, exposing AbbVie Pharmaceuticals and their drug Synthroid, and showcasing Maggie Hadleigh West's 30-year struggle to regain her spiraling health. Oh my gosh, and I know this is an interesting topic for you, Robin, because your son is also having some thyroid treatments and also takes the drug Synthroid?
Yes, he's been doing it for
about
10 years.
Okay,
now.
So maybe you'll have more questions than I ever will. Maggie Hadleigh West. Good morning, Maggie. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
We're good. You're welcome. Where are you?
I'm in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Nice.
How's New Orleans today?
It's fabulous. It's balmy, and the rest of the country is suffering. I'm so glad to be here.
And how are you today? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little bit tired, but I'm great.
So 30 years is a long time, and Robin is my partner here, of course. Yeah, I'm sure you heard us talking. And her son, how old is TJ?
He's 40.
He's 40. He's got thyroid issues, but the medicine seems to be keeping it at bay?
Yes.
So what is your experience? What happened to you?
Well, I had symptoms my entire life from the time that I was really a young child. I was constantly sick. I had a challenged immune system. And then in my very early 20s, at about 21 actually, I started to feel incredibly exhausted, and I started to have other symptoms like cold hands and feet. I had problems with my weight. I got sick constantly, even more. And I thought I had chronic fatigue syndrome for 14 years. And it wasn't until my thyroid swung into hyperthyroidism that I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. I drank radioactive iodine. It killed my thyroid, and I became underactive. When I became underactive, I started taking levothyroxine, which is the generic version of Synthroid, and I continued to be sick. But it took me a very, very long time to realize, like another 20 years, to realize that the drugs were keeping me sick. They were under-treating me, and I needed other options.
Okay, so were the options you were given incorrect? Was there something? I'm trying to figure out the word corruption in here in the description here. What was corrupt?
Well, this is the deal. Synthroid and levothyroxine, which are the same drug essentially, do not work for the vast majority of people. It does work for some people, but the Synthroid in particular has been out of patent, I believe, since the 70s. But they own the business of thyroid disease, so they support the American Thyroid Association. The American Thyroid Association is who determines what the guidelines are for treating thyroid disease. So while I was sick and I was going to doctors all the time, the only option I was ever given was Synthroid or levothyroxine. I wasn't told that I could take natural desiccated thyroid. It took me decades to find out about that. And from the moment I started taking natural desiccated thyroid, which is derived from pig hormone and is is a more natural source, it has T1, T2, T3, and T4, which is what our body needs.
Yeah.
I felt immeasurably better. So it's like the way that I understand the corruption is that they impose their interests on governing bodies that then impose those guidelines on doctors and the treatment of patients.
Okay.
And there are millions of people like me.
Help me out with the glossary a little bit. Natural defecated thyroid. That does the word defecated mean what I think it means?
Yes, it's dried. It's old, dead, dried thyroid, but it's made into a pill form. It's a pharmaceutical. It's been around since the 1890s, and My body loves it. Not everybody's does, but my body does.
So your thyroid is basically it's in there, but it's not working.
Exactly. I have a dead thyroid languishing in my body.
And Synthroid, again, a glossary question. It sounds like it means synthetic thyroid. Sounds like synthetic, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that's made out of a chemical. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Synthroid is T4, and your thyroid creates T4. A healthy thyroid creates T4 and then converts it to T3, which is the active hormone that our body needs. But the vast majority of people that have thyroid disease have the autoimmune version of thyroid disease. So most doctors don't even check to find out if somebody has the autoimmune version of thyroid disease. And if you do have it, like I do, your body does not convert that T4, whether it's in your body or synthetic, to T3. And that's the reason that it undertreats people.
So the film, it says here it's going to be released on the 18th. Is this a film that you produced for TV or for movie theaters or for the internet?
I produced this film for everyone. You know, I created Sick to Death because there was so much, so many people are distraught in the world about not being diagnosed. People are going 20, 30, 40, 50 years, entire lifetimes without being diagnosed because the testing is also incorrect. So I created Sick to Death for everyone, and it is going to be available on both Vimeo and Amazon January 18th, but the easiest way to find it is through my website, which is sick2death.com.
Oh, okay.
And will you be the only person in the documentary, or will you also have other people that have had the same results as yourself?
Oh, yes. There are many, many, many other people besides me. I am a small portion of it. It's chock full of progressive doctors talking that really understand thyroid disease and patients. There's a huge movement of patient advocacy as a result of actually the writings of Mary Showman. There is the founder of the National Academy of Hypothyroidism, who's Dr. Kent Holtorf, and he actually founded that because the American Thyroid Association is so influenced. And then there's a ton of other patients.
I'm wondering how many people with children with thyroid problems will watch the film and suddenly be made aware of an alternative to what they're doing.
Well, you know what? It's a great thing you mentioned that, because one of the first things that happened was I had a producer join me in working on this project, and she immediately realized that her mother-in-law, who she had thought was a hypochondriac for 20 years, was actually very sick with thyroid disease. And she was mortified to realize how incredibly unempathetic she'd been that entire time.
Wow.
And then a year and a half later, she recognized that her 7-year-old daughter was having symptoms. And it's important for kids to get on thyroid hormone early.
And your film premiered at the New Orleans Film Festival in October. It had 2 sold-out shows. It won 3 Global Film Awards, and you also received the Guggenheim Award for this film, so it's really making an impact.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, it's true. It's funny because I always say this is the movie that I didn't want to make. I was just so mad when I realized, it was fine when it was my experience, but when I realized there were millions and millions and millions of other people in the world having the same experience, then I was like,
if you're gonna try to pull something over on somebody, make sure it's not a filmmaker, because she will definitely expose you. All right, I went to the website sick2death.com, sick2death.com. There's a trailer on there for the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. I know Robin is probably anxious. I'm sure she'll share it with her son up in New Jersey.
Oh, certainly.
Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for the work you've done, Maggie, and for being on our show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, good information. We will make sure we put this up as a podcast later on. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.